When one first starts to learn Japanese, it can be overwhelming. It is very tempting to use Romanji. They look and sound very much like English, giving us a sense of comfort. But there are some difference in the pronunciations of Japanese vowels and consonants compared with the Western languages. First, using Romanji gives people a tendency to use the Western pronunciation instead of the authentic Japanese pronunciation. Second, we need to be able to speak out when we see the actual kana in writing. So not relying on the crutch will help us in the long run. That's why I emphasized on focusing on kana in the first three videos. Though it is harder to start with, it builds a solid base for future study. Listening to the sound from native speakers early on during the study can improve the sense of the language, the rhythm, the feel. That will build the foundation for better speaking for us. I use the method of shadowing for the speaking. The first step of shadowing is listening without paying attention to kana pronunciation, pitch sounds of the words, and the intonation of the sentences. There is no way to get to the level of speaking close to the natives. I also spend time on those Japanese listening podcasts or YouTube videos for the beginners. Grammar and vocabularies are the base of a language, but they tend to be very dry and boring. The key for the beginners are to keep the interest high. Fear of missing is another common mistake beginners make, but focusing on a small group of vocabulary and hoping one can memorize them and never forget is less efficient. Building a broader base, even if remembering only 70% of it, is much better. Spaced repetition systems like Anki is a proven method to help memorization. From the 3 weeks I used, I can tell it is much better than my old handwritten flashcards. Grammar provides structure, but it is not just a bunch of strict rules. After knowing the basics, it is more natural to master language in real conversation. I started collecting useful short sentences for conversation. I put them into my own Anki deck and review them daily. And I hope I can phase out using the Anki deck once I have decent amount of vocabulary. After that, I will try to gain more vocabulary through actual listening to the real Japanese conversation and reading the real stories. Spending long hours practicing mindless repetition is not sustainable. Human nature makes us tune out and lose interest in a short period of time. Rather than fighting against human nature, I want to review interesting new contents to increase my curiosity, which keeps me in the game. Doing it daily with reasonable time spent creates consistency and builds a habit of learning. I feel that I miss something if I don't really do it every day. Another week of learning Japanese for at least 1 hour a day. The streak is 21 days now. I spent the third week focusing on kana and was able to recognize and pronounce the words by kana when I see the writings most of the time, but far from reaching to the level of what I called instant recall. I still need a bit of time to think and pronounce some of the kanas. This week, I didn't spend enough time practicing speaking as I planned for. Therefore, I give myself a B plus for the week. But I'm happy as long as I keep up with this level of learning. Now for next week's challenge, definitely I need to get more into speaking, but also start a grammar study with Genki Book 1. Oh, Genki is actually a Japanese word I learned this week. It is pronounced Genki rather than Genki. It means healthy. This week, I listen native speaker talking, pay attention to the small details, the sound, the overall stress accent, the pitch and intonation, the rhythm and the speed of the native Japanese speakers. These are all very important. So they will give me a much, much better sense about Japanese language. Japanese sentences sounds very flat because Japanese words and phrases don't have stress syllables. Sounds may raise or lower their pitch on a specific syllable in certain words, but there's no stress. If you speak with stressed syllables, it gives Japanese people an impression that either you are mad or you are excited. Similarly, a single phrase can be said or understood in different ways depending on intonation. The intonation is the overall pitching flow that applies to the entire phrase or sentences. So the key to speak like natives, I think, there's a couple things. First, you gotta have correct kana pronunciation. Second, pay attention on pitch sound and intonation. Third, pronounce each syllable separately and clearly. And the fourth, you got to keep the normal speech speed. I wanted to start the process as close as the native speaking language as possible. That way, I have less things to correct in the future. Now, let's talk about shadowing. This is a practice method where a person listens to the audio and follows immediately what he or she hears, like a shadow. So you need to faithfully voice it without even thinking about it. In language learning, people do repeating exercises. You listen to the audio, think about the meaning or even structure of a sentence, then repeat it at your own pace. But shadowing requires listening and speaking at the same time or right after. This repetitiveness, or sometimes even unconsciously, is building the muscle memory in your brain for the sense of the language. Basically, I want to change from, oh, I listen and taking time to understand, then to speak to the level of, I can speak right after I listen. And that is what shadowing is trying to help me to achieve that. Anyone can create his or her own shadowing material by taking sections from native speaking audio resources. But selecting audio materials at appropriate level is particularly important for the beginners. You don't want to get overwhelmed, then you give up. You want to see steady improvements from what you do. That's why I choose Shadowing Let's Speak Japanese. This is a great resource. So this is the book I'm using called Shadowing Let's Speak Japanese. Shadowing, and that's the book for the beginner and the intermediate, and there's also another book for advanced. The whole book is divided into 6 units: one, two, three, four, five, six, and each unit has 10 sections, and each section has 10 sentences from 1 to 10. For this book, Unit 1 and 2 is mainly for beginners, then 3, 4 is for pre-intermediate, and 5 and 6 is for intermediate. So I will just have to follow along and see how far I can go from beginning. To use this book, it actually has some instructions here. Say, there's um, 5 steps you can go with it. Um, so the first step is look at the text and check the meaning. So you basically look at the Japanese text here and has English here. So you compare and try to understand first, give a rough sort of understanding at the beginning. Then step two is check the audio while looking at the text. You listen to the audio, it comes with the book. This is called silent shadowing. Then the third step is moving your mouth without looking at text. Just try to do that. Mumbling. Then the fourth step is to shadowing with the script. You follow the audio and then do the shadowing and sing it loud while looking at the text. And the last step is when you get used to do it, then you just do shadowing without looking at text. That's sort of the goal is to basically you mindlessly followed. So that way it's going to be in your brain. So because this is a copyright material, so I don't want to um, sort of share too much here on air. So I'm going to just use 2 examples here. Let's try to do like let's see 4, right? So let's listen. 4. いいですか? はい、いいです。 4. いいですか? はい、いいです。 So いいんですか? はい、いいんです。So listen to, I'm trying to adjust the volume. 4. 4. いいですか? いいですか? はい、はい、いいです。いいです。So just follow along. Let's look at the 10 here. 10. わかった? はい、わかりました。10. わかった? わかった? はい、わかりました。わかりました。10. わかった? はい、わかりました。わかりました。はい、わかりました。So basically the idea is you have to follow along and repeat very quickly once you hear it. So it's just listen, speak, um, you know, sort of 2 steps and incorporate into one. And that's the idea of shadowing, just like a shadow. Now it's time to share my saved locations on the Google map. Those are the places I want to go next time when I visit Japan again. Japan is divided into 47 prefectures, grouped into 8 distinct, mostly called regions. Prefectures range from metropolitan and urban to rural areas. The metropolitans are the big cities like Tokyo, Kyoto, or Osaka, Fu, Kyoto, Fu, etc. The numbers are roughly, the prefecture numbers are roughly from north to south. These regions are 8 regions. Um, they are Hokkaido, Tohoku, Kanto, Chubu, Kansai, also it's called a Kinki region, including uh, Osaka and Kyoto. Chugofu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. Uh, that is include Okinawa Islands. The first location I want to share today is called Iseshima. It's an area of Eastern Mie Prefecture in and around the Iseshima National Park. It is quite easy to reach by train from Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, or Nagaya. Nagaya is the closest city of all the above. There is a also a tourist special train called the Sightseeing Limit Express, Shimakaze. It is operated by the private train company Kintetsu. It connects the Iseshima region to Osaka, uh, Kyoto, and Nagoya, and it provides a unique and a very comfortable travel experience along the coast. One-way tickets goes from $35 to $50. Though there are many attractions in this area, I would like to spend a few days wandering around. However, the main attractions are two. First is the Isa Grand Shrine, which is called Isa Jugu. The second is Ama Divers. Isa Jugu has a history going back more than 2,000 years, and it is a secret site for Japanese people. It has long been a center of worship for Japanese Asian religion, Shinto religion. Uh, it is also credited as being the first case of mass tourism in Japan in the early Edo period. That's from 1700 to 1900. Uh, there's a sort of pilgrims on foot to Isa from all points in Japan, so it causing the tourism to boom. Today, Isa Jinju, the soul of Japan, is highly populated destination for tourists as well. This is because it is a key location for understanding the culture and the history and the thinking of Japan. Ama, or sea women, are Japanese divers famous for collecting pearls. Though traditionally their main catch is seafood, the vast majority of Ama are women. Japanese tradition holds that practice of Ama may be 2,000 years old. Um, Women began diving as Ama as early as 13 or even 12, taught by the elders. Despite their early starts, divers are known to be active well into their 70s, and with some extreme examples of diving in their 80s or even 90s. I've saw some videos that was incredible. In Japan, women are considered to be superior divers due to the distribution of their fat and their ability to hold their breath. Today's Ama divers have strict limits on when and how often they can gather seafood, as well as on the size of what that they can catch. There is a pearl museum in that area. You can actually buy tickets to take a boat to see, how they actually doing the catch. But nowadays, not too many people really want to get into that business anymore. Young women just they wants to go to big cities and enjoy life. So there's called Ama hunts, which where they you can gather and have fresh catch food, seafood, and they will cook for you. So it's very popular for tourists. So these are the two main attractions in this area. But I really want to go to that area and stay there for a couple of days and enjoy the local can offer. So